EF Fluff?
Yes, this is Fluff. Is this Ciaran Murphy?
Yeah, speaking. How's it going?
It's not going well, but I mean, you know that.
Yeah, I can see, obviously, the chain of emails. There's lots of stuff going on at the moment. But like I said before, I'm trying to engage you to see what we can progress. And some things I can progress, some things I cannot progress. I do think there's some things have to go to GSOC because I'm not in a position to.
Oh, I mean, I've already gone to GSOC and I've already put that in the correspondence with you. I've been very open with everybody. I've been not hiding in any aspect of what I've done.
Okay.
I went to
What can I specifically do that's going to assist?
I don't know because I mean I don't know what your remit is because I mean the last time we argued it was over what's gone on with the Bridewell. And
Okay.
for whatever, I don't even know why the Bridewell decided to be obstinate. I mean, I was recommended to go by them by both GSOC and by Michael Hanaho due to the
Okay.
difficulties, the ongoing and constant difficulties I've had with Kevin Street at every level. You tell me I can report a crime or anything. Um, the wider colleagues at Kevin Street have made my interaction with the law impossible, and yet I still phone in issues that I believe will both help, well, people and the guards at large, whether it's domestics on the street, stabbings, or anything, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Up until as of recently, as of only 2 weeks ago, so it's never really stopped. So I still interact with the guards, so I don't have like a complete lack of
Yeah.
respect for their function.
Before running through the content of what you're hoping I might be able to address, how is your physical condition at the minute?
It's pretty shit. I mean, this isn't the first hunger strike, but you know, I would imagine actually after the last one, which Kevin Street just ignored and let me go. I mean, to be fair, between you and me, and you can pass this on, the only reason the last hunger strike, the one that went for 90 days, stopped was my friend accidentally left me on Skype with her autistic child
Okay.
in Australia, and she went to bed. She forgot before I called. She just in between me calling and everything, she forgot she'd taken a sleeping pill. You know, because she was on her way to bed, and my call was unexpected, so I distracted it, and then she just literally fell asleep. So she left me on Skype with her 6-year-old autistic child, who pulled her computer around so I could watch him in the kitchen. So I sat for 2.5 hours watching this child in Tasmania, biting my nails, wondering was he going to damage himself, looking up emergency numbers. But the entire time I just spent with this child, telling me, "Why aren't you eating, Mr. Skeleton? Why don't you sleep, Mr. Skeleton?" And that sort of had a wearing effect on me. After a few days after that, I was convinced to by a group of people who said it'd help me to stop that hunger strike, and I wouldn't have stopped that one. But I had
Okay.
reached skeletal levels with that one. So I think this one, you know, and this is the third or fourth one. Um, I think my body's a bit inured to it. So this one is that the weight loss is slower than say the last one where it was extremely rapid compared to all the others. Within I'd say the first 10 days of the last one, before it plateaued, I lost 12 kilos.
Wow.
This one is all over the place, and I don't know whether that's a sign that the body is just damaged and it's water retention because it'll jump up and down anywhere between 4 to 5 kilos of course a day, which obviously is not normal. So it has to be water retention,
Okay.
and it's
Okay.
very and this one's a lot more painful. Like far, if this was what the first one was like, I would never have done another one. But this is because this one is wow painful, and that's when my body's worn out doing this. I mean,
And can I ask, should you not be going to a hospital at this point for treatment
no,
for
no.
yourself?
Why would I be doing that? My life is pretty much over. I mean, I have a, like and I know you've probably seen it in correspondence. I think Bobby Sands said it. Well, the weight of oppression and corruption, when you have nothing, the body is the weapon. I think he said and the path to freedom, but I'm going to say or the path to freedom.
Okay.
I've had a miserable time with your colleagues,
Okay.
and
I accept that. I mean, I know from the correspondence, I can see very clearly how that has impacted on you. I think that's dreadful that that's how it's resulted. But some matters are before the courts in different aspects, and that's where they are.
Yeah, I know that. Well, I've told the court, and I
Yeah,
don't, and I'm assuming that you've probably, since you have access to my file, you've probably seen the court correspondence. I told the court that I won't be eating,
yeah,
and that I've taken that stand. That in light of, and this goes back to what I said in correspondence with you. In light of the guards refusing to interact with me, I mean, in any level, with document requests, cutting me off from my creative career, any number of things. But mostly at the moment, in light of 5 false affidavits, that you know, I can't feasibly acknowledge that.
is this the court case that Brian Gillan has taken specifically, or is it more than else as well as that?
No, it's Gillan, it's specifically.
Okay. So, I mean, I know, just going through your email, that you have a disclosure pack given to you from the state solicitors in that case.
I have only got the book of evidence, and I'm requesting more documentation because I thought there's things missing from the book of evidence. I mean,
Okay.
like
And who have you written to get that?
I'm writing to you because you said it was to interact with you, because every request I have ever put in to the Gardaí has been ignored, and that's how things have got to this level of harsh and aggravated. I mean, I think at the point when Kevin Street decided I couldn't celebrate Christmas was when things probably crossed the bridge too far.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there.
Oh, this is what like when I got out. Okay, so I got sectioned for 21 days off the back of the anonymously phoned in mental health check that turned into an armed response raid.
This was the arrest.
This was the initial arrest in 2018.
Yes.
Yeah, and I should have been sectioned for 21 days, up for review as it is, and I got out in under 12 days, or just about 12 days, because the guards, and it would look like some GP, and there's possibly a family member involved, told the hospital that my time in Finland, my time living in Finland, and events in Finland were all a hallucination and a delusion. It never happened.
Okay.
And I was able to secure documentation and prove to the hospital that it all happened. So I was released.
Okay.
And I got out to find the guards had confiscated my phones.
So this is the phones were taken in 2018?
Yeah.
Okay, so the two phones that you've been referring to in the correspondence with me are the two phones taken in 2018?
Yes.
Okay.
And I originally I had a mental health solicitor who was very disturbed by the fact that the guard would confiscate things on a mental health thing, because there's no remit for that, even if there's an armed response raid in it. But she faded off, as you know how flaky solicitors can be, and I was left in a situation where the phones contain all my security codes for all my work websites, my DNS, everything. So
okay.
I was completely cut off from my creative career.
Okay.
And this
have
is...
you
Sorry?
managed to recover any of your material back since 2018?
I've only recovered a couple of emails. I'm still locked out of accounts. And I have been, and I've told the guards this. And additionally, that was my only source of all my contacts. And so if I got out in around the 11th or the 12th, I think, of September, the 12th of September, I had 5 phone numbers left. And by December, I had earlier that year, I had been asked, did I want to, just as a break from all the stuff in Finland, did I want to spend Christmas in Prague with my ex-girlfriend and her boyfriend and her family, and I said I would, and I emailed Kevin Street, and I asked him, could I, at the very least, gain access to my phones to get both my security codes, you know, and this phone number so I could celebrate Christmas. And Kevin Street ignored me. And over the course of this time, I had many phone calls with Kevin Street, all of which are recorded, with Kevin Street Gardaí, sometimes with amusement in their voices, constantly changing the reason they had confiscated my phones.
Okay, so as far as I can see, and I'm just on the computer here beside you while I'm talking to you, is I have one mobile phone, Samsung Galaxy 5 Black.
There's two phones.
One phone, and I have a second phone, a mobile phone, iPhone 5S Silver.
Yeah.
Those are two phones we're discussing. Those are two phones you're looking for?
I don't know if it's an iPhone. I don't know if it's a 5. I think it should be like an 8. I'll have to check that.
Well, on the record here, there's certainly a second phone.
Yeah.
So you've got one Samsung and one iPhone.
Yeah, those are the two.
Okay, so they are on the system here as being seized and being in our possession. So they are.
Yeah, and I have sought constantly, and I mean, like at one point, and I don't know who in the station put gloating up to it, but I had gloating tell me that one of the times, because she changed it now several times on the phone, that my phones were being held as part of an investigation into my cyber stalking. Now I pointed out to gloating that was now just pardon my language because this is me speaking freely. That was some psychic Sherlock Holmes level shit because I had never reported my phones being not my cyber stalking in Ireland. I had made one attempt to speak with the Gardaí cyber division and met someone in Kevin Street who basically told me to turn off my computer. Now I have outspoken to law enforcement in several countries. I have outstanding legal cases that the Gardaí's actions with my phones has actually hampered. I underwent it's up to 7.5 years of people inciting suicide, telling me they were going to murder me, threatening violence, hacking me, claiming that they called in the Gardaí SWAT, claiming they would call in another one. I have had work destroyed. It's been fairly constant, and it's part of it's due to being a performer. It's not like it's due to some political activity.
Okay.
So
listen, just for a second, just on the phones then. The two phones are here in Kevin Street. That's what the computer is telling me here now. Looking at it, it's a Samsung and it's an iPhone. I'm just sending a message to Brian to confirm that those phones are subject of a criminal investigation or not, and can they be returned to you? Sorry. So you come back to me in relation to that. I will chase it up, and I will come back to you in the next couple of days.
But the problem with this is that there was already a property order that went through court.
Okay.
Regarding this, and Gillan refused to turn up to court.
You took a police property application.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
And then I dropped it on about the fourth appointment because I dropped it after the second raid, and I went into court representing myself, and I said to the judge that I was dropping the possessions order or the property order due to I stated this 3 times in court due to Gardaí intimidation and violence.
Okay, so in terms of the phones and trying to address the issue with the phones, I'm going to talk to Brian. I'm going to identify it's got to be one of two things: either the phones are not subject to the criminal investigation and can be returned, or the phones are subject to the criminal investigation, at which point then
well, it'd be curious if they were, because Brian didn't even know they'd been confiscated the first time he was asked about them, because I sent someone in to talk to them and he didn't know they were there.
Yes.
So that's on record. And then, Brian hasn't included them in the book of evidence. So I fail to see how they can be part of a criminal investigation if they're not in the book of evidence.
Yes, I would agree. So let me bottom that out with Brian. His unit is coming back. I think they're back tomorrow. Is their first day back. So over the next 4 days, Brian will be working, and I'll be able to get an answer on that from him. And I'll be able to come back to you at the end of the 4 days and confirm that either way. But if they're subject to the criminal investigation, then they're subject to that, and you can you'll have to wait through the court process to get that.
Well, as the court now has told me, I'm representing myself.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna have to. The Gardaí are gonna have to start interacting with me, like a bit better on paperwork, because as is, I'm applying to have this struck out based on how the Gardaí have acted.
That's okay.
And just letting you know.
The other side of the phones issue then is if the phones are not subject to the criminal investigation, then I will see that they're sorted out and returned to you. I will do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the next 4 days, I'll be able to establish and come back to you, and I will tell you whether they're subject to the criminal investigation and what their role is in that, or I will be able to identify that they're not subject to the criminal investigation and look to get them returned to you, and I will deal with that.
At this point, though, just as a question to you, if he decides suddenly they are, I'm just going to speak frankly about A168, about Brian. I'm just, I believe that he's a very damaged sadist. He tightened my handcuffs until he fractured my wrists.
Okay.
And
that's something that you've dealt with through GSOC.
It's not dealt with GSOC. It's not finished. I'm not finished with that by a long shot.
No, but you are dealing with that in a separate forum.
I assume that Gillan has contacts in GSOC and friends, because GSOC derailed my investigation into Gillan to make it about my child abuse. So I have a separate suit against GSOC now, specifically against the GSOC operative there by the name of Gary Russell, who I'm in the process of suing.
Okay.
Because he abused access to privileged medical information.
Okay.
So if you can tell me like just how, in any scope, the action as you know as it's described began as mental health, the petrol there was a canister of petrol, however it wasn't ever poured or anything. How what you have as described in any way could have anything to do with my child abuse.
Well, I have no idea.
See, I don't either. It'd be sort of like me trying to blame, I don't know, you driving home with a hangover on like a football coach that was mean to you when you were 12. It's not the way life works.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. In terms of what I can and what I can't do, the court case is before the court, obviously. So you have the book of evidence. You're looking for more material that's not contained in the book of evidence.
Well, okay. So
what do you do in that regard? Hang on, one second.
No worries.
How's it going? I'm just on the phone to someone. Is there something going on? No. Okay. Give me a few minutes. I'll give a shout back to you when I'm free. All right. Thanks. Okay. So I'm back there now.
No worries.
So listen, just in terms of the court case, if you're trying to get more material, obviously, where the DPP is involved in the disclosure, they should have given you details, or you should have details from someone as to who you can write to ask for further information in disclosure. So writing to, let's say, Superintendent Kevin Street probably isn't a direct forum. It's probably the Chief State Solicitor's Office that are running that investigation, and whichever Chief State's persons. So in the disclosure pack, do you have contact details for?
No, not really. I just have the name of the prosecutor, and the DPP have been.
Who's your prosecutor?
The Helena Kiley. And I currently have a complaint up with the Ombudsman regarding the DPP, due to the fact that, and also this will be one having to go regarding the Kevin Street access officer, because 2 years ago I contacted your access officer and told him I was disabled, and that I wished to speak to them, as I would believe that the disabilities I do have would make I would need them sort of communicated better to Kevin Street, and they just ignored me. In fact, I think I spoke with one access officer somewhere in the Guards once, and they sort of put me on hold and hung up. But
the access officer was to provide you with access to which side?
Well, an access officer under the Disability Act is supposed to, in part at times, act as a communication liaison for people with specific disabilities. Now, I would have very bad PTSD, which is greatly exacerbated by the raid and subsequent harassment stuff. Like, for the first few weeks, whenever when I was out of hospital, I'm not saying it was every car, it's just certain cars from around the Kevin Street area of Gardaí cars would pull up and drive really slowly beside me, or I would meet people who were local to the area who would say they'd met Gillan and they'd been talking about me and stuff. It was quite oppressive.
Okay.
So I wanted to speak to the access officer regarding communicating properly to Kevin Street the nature of PTSD and also the ADHD, which the ADHD, like, I have to, in talking with you, I have to simultaneously have a notepad, a cigarette always burning, and something else I can fidget with. And these are all like tools to keep me from scattering too much and going off on tangents. And you probably notice I will tangent because it's just the nature.
Yeah. So going back to Helena Kiley, so if she's down as your prosecutor and you have reference numbers from the DPP's office, you should be writing to that office and her looking for the additional disclosure that you're doing. Kevin Street wouldn't be the appropriate avenue to get that information. It would be through the Chief State's office.
Yeah, you
and
see,
what they will do then is they'll send that back down through the channels to Garda Gillan, asking for that information, whether it's available, and of course it's all in writing. They'll get a response and it'll go back through and be brought back through in the court environment where you discuss it that way.
If you'd believe me in this, and I can send you photos of my book of evidence, I didn't have my case number until late December.
Okay.
And I don't know what. All I ever had was the charge sheet number.
Okay.
Even on the book of evidence. I have it now, but I didn't have it for all that time, and I'd asked for it a few times, and I never.
Okay. So in terms of the additional disclosure material, that should go through that case number to the chief prosecutor at the address on your file, whether it's the DPP's office or if it's the Chief State's office in Chip Street, whichever one is on your file, quoting that reference number and listing out as simply as you can as many whatever content details you're looking for, and they will then get that and they have to address it. They'll have to send it through their superiors, through the chain of command, let's say, around, and it'll eventually come back to the station here, where they'll have to answer that and bring it back through the channels back. And at that point, you're able to argue the fact that you either did or didn't get an answer on the disclosure in front of a judge. And the judge will understand the process and he'll accept that process that you asked for additional disclosure and it was or was not granted. And they can seek explanations from the other side. And again, it's an open and a transparent way of dealing with that issue.
It would be really good. You could probably recommend this to the powers that be, that they had like a little PDF pamphlet that if someone in the future says in correspondence that they are representing themselves, that the guards don't continue the refrain of speak to your solicitor, and that they just go and just, I mean, it may seem rude to the person, but if they just email this little PDF with basically the information, that would have helped, because no one gives that. Because I spoke to the DPP quite a number of times. Actually, I'd say so many times that they're probably sick of hearing from me, and they wouldn't tell me that. And
Well, I do think if you're specific to your case number, your court case, and your queries are specific to you're looking for additional disclosure, and you keep it as simple as you can in terms of doing that, in terms of just bullet pointing that you're in front of the court, you're representing yourself, these are the additional items of disclosure that you think are available but have not been received by you, and you're looking for clarification from them for that to be provided, or an answer as to why it's not available. And then that will go off in writing to them and they'll have to deal with that. And of course then you're able to bring that up in front of the court and discuss it with the judge in terms of the specific disclosure issue.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll do that. Thanks for that direction, because that has been 10 on the ground.
Yeah, okay.
No one really gives information. Sure, I didn't. I
Okay.
didn't find out. I didn't find out that I was supposed to give the court a sick letter for the first court date that I missed due to until 2 months later, when actually the head clerk of the Department of Justice, Criminal Justice, told me that, and was told me then when she told me that the Parkgate Street clerks should have told me that.
They should have done. Yes,
And
they
I
should have
didn't
done.
know instead, and then I had a small row with her over the fact that she believed that they had told me, and then I had to forward her the email thread, and she was like to phone me back and go, okay, sorry about that. Well, you should have been told.
If for any reason that you can't attend court, or you're going to be late, or you're sick, if there's any particular issue that's stopping you attending court, I would recommend that you would write to the court clerk for the court cases up in front of you, because you should have that information.
Oh, I do. I've a long. I've
Yeah.
quite a lot of communication with the court clerks now. They're quite.
Yeah,
They're quite aware of me now.
Yeah, I'd be writing to them, the chief states, that is that lady Helen Kiley and the guard. Yeah, so I would be doing it in 3 different avenues, so that no one can say they're not involved or not aware, and whatever your reason is going, that you're able to apply properly for a remand or adjournment, or it to be dealt with in your absence, or whichever the position is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. That's very useful. Thank you.
Well, let's just going through your email. So in terms of the phones, it'll take me the next 4 days probably to get to the bottom of where they are and what their position is. We'll deal with that. And in terms of your disclosure issue with the court case, you know to talk to Helen Kiley, and you're going to do that. So, and that will deal with all the disclosure of the material. In terms of the actions of the guards on the night when they went in with the ERU, that's still a matter for GSOC.
Oh yeah, I know, and actually, I am just going to have to, you're going to have to talk to someone, because I am just literally going to, I don't mean this in a bolshy way or anything, but I am going to systematically sue every individual guard that was in my home on the second raid.
Okay.
That's just the second raid. But we were talking about the first raid. There are points of that. Since you see, this is the problematic point. The action was taken under the Mental Health Act.
Yes, I am aware of that. Yeah.
Now, in the affidavit, where is it? To see if I should have it beside me. In the affidavit, Gillan says, this is in part of the things that Gillan has lied about. Gillan says that he met me outside my where is it? I returned to the floor and I met Mr. Madden outside the door of his apartment. Now that never happened.
Okay.
Okay, I met a man with a machine gun raised to my face.
Okay.
And I was escorted by ERU unit to the landing with my elevator, and where there was 2 EMTs, and
right.
I went down the elevator with 2 ERU unit members, one short one, one tall one. Tall one has probably got ginger hair and freckles, because he's freckled under his mask, at one point, the lift is memorable because at one point the short one went to pull his gun on me. I'm not sure whether he was going to pistol whip me or not, because I told him he was shit at negotiating. Now, I don't know whether part of all of this is that Gillan is actually a member of the ERU and has forgotten, or that's being obfuscated. So I'll allow wiggle room there.
But he definitely is not a member of the ERU.
Okay, so then it's nearly impossible for Gillan to have been at my front door when I was escorted out.
Okay, but this is subject of the court proceedings.
Yeah, no, it's just this is just the point I want to make, wider point. Now,
okay.
I didn't meet Gillan again until the ambulance. So, and where in the ambulance I was arrested directly under the Mental Health Act.
Yes. Okay.
And then I wasn't re-arrested until approximately around 3 or 4 in the morning in Kevin Street, where Gillan, after some, and I'm actually underselling it, after some quite vindictive theatre, Gillan released me under the Mental Health Act, left me on my own at the charges window in Kevin Street for a while, and then came back from behind me, actually, I remember, to charge me with quite a number of offences.
Okay.
None of which I have charge sheets for, none of which are related to the charges that Gillan says that he charged me for on the night. And in the book of evidence it says, and I'm getting to the point of why this is muddy. The book of evidence, it says that the charges are the same as the charges on the night, but the charges on the night reference in the book of evidence, or the document reference, shows just one charge. However, the book of evidence has two charges. Now, my action under the Mental Health Act transforms at that point at about 5 in the morning or something, or 6 in the morning when they charge me again, or when they say they charge me, because they never gave me charge sheet or observed my arrest warrants rights, into something additional to the Mental Health Act. However, there's some parallel with the Mental Health Act here, because I still want information as to what happened to parts of my apartment.
Yes, okay.
You know, I'm aware that the Gardaí granted access to estranged family members, I think, that I have issue with. And now, I don't think, like, just to give you a small example, I don't think the Gardaí would steal my toaster. But,
I wouldn't see why.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, that's like, but I'm just giving an example of things that are missing. However, when I spoke to the guards immediately after my release in September of the same year, I think I spoke to some sergeant who was attached to it, or Gillan's sergeant or something, I can't remember. I'd have to go back to the phone calls. I was told that, because I've been told by a strange family, as you can gather, I have some long-standing issue with certain members of my family.
Yes, you referenced that before.
Yeah, and I had been told by that family member that the guards had ordered the place to be decontaminated, and that they'd also ordered the couch to be destroyed. Now, when I phoned Kevin Street through September, October, November, December of 2018, I was repeatedly told that the Gardaí did no such thing, as they had no authority to do so. And
okay.
Now, in your email, you tell me that the couch, you understand that the couch is covered in petrol, but
Yeah,
I still have no paperwork for that. There's nothing about it in the affidavit. So
okay.
I'm assuming that then is decided by the guards not to be part of what Gillan's criminal thing. So it's part of the Mental Health Act. So that's not covered by the DPP. So we still have a point where I need paperwork for that.
Okay.
I need explanation of what was decontaminated or what was not. I have requested this. So this is simple humane stuff.
Okay.
Because whatever the guards that the ERU sprayed in my apartment, now I know that of the ERU units, one of the ones in attendance also uses a CN or a CS based foam or something.
Yeah.
But and one of them uses the pepper spray. That pepper spray is supposed to dissipate in about 4 to 5 hours, 12 at the most. When I tried to clean or decontaminate residue from what the Gardaí had sprayed in January, it was still reactive. So that's not pepper spray.
So the date that we're talking about now, this is 2018, or
yeah, this is 2018.
Okay.
So this entire time I have just asked out of, you think, good basic humanity for decontamination information, and which apparently is covered by the law, that the guards are supposed to tell me exactly how to clean whatever is left residue. When I went to clean the residue that was left on one of the tables, and I sprayed like really basic household stuff on it, it started to smoke and give off like a sort of a dirty cigarette smoke, and I had one friend helping me, and I had to literally shove them out of the room. Another friend spilt water where I'd say the bulk of the Gardaí would have sprayed where around where I was or something, and that reacted, and the two people in the room at the time passed out. So I don't know whether, I mean, whether.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Did you put in for refund for the cost of the couch and those items damaged in the course of that incident?
I was told that I couldn't.
Okay.
I was GSOC, who were very unhelpful. I was informed that I had to go to Victims of Crime, and then the State Compensation Board. The Victims of Crime lady.
We would refer people to the State Claims Agency. So, for example, if I have a mental health case that we have to access a house and we have to break in the front door, then the damage to the door, the cost of repairing it is recoverable through the State Claims Agency because the guards damaged the door in the course of their job. You know?
Yeah, when I spoke to both of them, I was told that the more aggressive of the one was the Victims of Crime one, because the State Claims Lady directed me to the Victims of Crime one. I was told that I would have to win in court against the Gardaí, or I was eligible for nothing, and that they couldn't help me. And then that I could, if I wanted to, I could try the Victims of Crime. So I tried the Victims of Crime, as also directed by GSO, and the Victims of Crime lady got very aggressive and accused me of being a spoofer and stuff. And how can you be a victim of crime if it was the Gardaí? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just phoning you because I was directed to do that. And so for the 2 years now, I have been told repeatedly that I cannot claim back for the items that were destroyed by the Gardaí.
Is that from the State Claims Agency specifically?
I'll phone them again, but I did, like the last time I spoke to them was I'd say the beginning of 2019, and by that I mean like really the first 2 weeks of January, because I was really quite fastidious in following up on everything.
Yeah, and even to be honest, if I, let's say, that's a non-crime incident, going in, breaking in a door because there's a health issue, it can be claimed back against the state. But also, if I was to go in with a warrant and search a house, and we break the door going in to search the house, then the people who own that house are entitled to go back through the State Claims Agency because the guard used an authority to break in to carry out that function that they were going to look for. They would be entitled to that. It's not a matter of whether the court case is successful or unsuccessful. The fact that action is taken by the guards at that point in time allows for us. That's my experience and understanding of the State Claims Agency. I'm actually very
I had a very awful time with them, but not as bad as the Victims of Crime people, who I got for some reason got directed to, and the State Claims people basically told me I was eligible or nothing. Because if I had been eligible, a lot of things would be different. Because one of the things that did happen is whatever guards were here, they sprayed and this is all I have, and I'm just literally quoting the repair breakdowns. I'm not making this up. Is say my speakers, my studio monitors. The write up for them is caustic substance sprayed directly into speakers. Laptops is caustic substance sprayed directly down onto laptops. So they pepper sprayed my equipment, which was at the other end of the room away from me.
Okay. Well, I think even if they hadn't been intentionally spraying those items, if they sprayed it in the room at all, it would have landed on those items.
Oh no, it was with the laptops. Apple laptops have little sensors all darted across the motherboard, and they're these little squares, and if they have exposed to a chemical or water, they turn red.
Right. Okay.
So every single sensor on the board was tripped. To which the guy said the only way to do this is for it to have like, this isn't like ambient exposure, like misting or something. He said this is a full dousing, and there's photos of that, and that's written up as well. No, it was all very deliberate.
Okay. Well, listen, if you want, and if it's acceptable to you, I can separately go to the State Claims Agency and inquire of them in these circumstances. Would there be compensation available to you because the guards within?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'd say they're probably going to deny the call because I had a bizarre time with them.
Okay.
I remember at one point like reading back to the I don't know whether the person was just having an off time and was just deciding to mess with me. I remember at one point reading the website back to them, or like the pamphlet I had.
Yeah.
And being told
well, if you want, I can try and have a chat with them.
If you want to, I'm open to anything because I lost at a rough guess just the laptops around €5,500 worth of laptops.
Wow.
And
well, listen, the phone call doesn't cost me anything except just a little bit of time. So
yeah, if you want to, because I mean the speakers alone. I mean, I had to contact the Finnish company who made my speakers, and I had to explain what had happened. And for that, I was able to get the parts for free because they felt bad for me. But I still had to pay the Irish company for repairs.
Okay.
But the archives of all the creative work are mostly scrambled because they were sprayed too. So I've lost decades of work.
And do you have all the receipts and the costs? I'm sure you probably do.
Yeah, I do. I have everything backed up because it was all part of the GSOC investigation.
Well, listen, leave that with me again. So, I think in terms of trying to make some progress, we are making a little bit of progress.
Yeah,
so
I like.
If you leave me the next 4 days, and I'll go look for the phones. Like I said, the lads are starting back tomorrow from Brian Gillan's unit. He should be back tomorrow. I should be able to bottom out what the position is with the phones, and if they're not part of the criminal investigation, I can get them returned to you. That won't be a problem. In terms of the extra disclosure,
I know now what I have to do, so I'll do that. Thank you for clarifying that. But at the same time, I think the matter with the apartment, it straddles the Mental Health Act, so it's a grey area.
Yeah, but see, we did multiple house forcing the door for Mental Health Act with people who are, let's say, Dublin City Council tenants, and normally if there's damage to the door, the tenant has to replace it, and in such circumstances where, let's say, the guards push the door in on a health ground, on a mental health ground, then they don't have to, they just get a letter from the guards to state it's our responsibility for doing it, and the Dublin City Council will proceed onwards. And as I said, where the guards are carrying out a legal function in terms of safety, health and safety, or a criminal investigation, and they break into a place, my experience over my career to date has always been the State Claims Agency will refund the cost of damages caused. So listen, leave that with me, and I will.
It could be because that it could be that she was telling me that I wasn't eligible for anything because subsequent to the Mental Health Act charges arose.
Yeah, I don't really see why any of that should be a big problem, but I guess I better talk to someone in that agency and see why it's an issue so that it's clear, and what your redress or possible redress could be to get refunded the cost of those damages.
As I understood, what I was told was I had to, I quote, win in court against the guards, and then I can sue the guards. I mean, my house was insured at the time, and my insurer refused to give me any insurance due to the fact
the guards had done it.
Because the guards had done it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, let me just work on those couple of things for the next 4 days, and then I'll be in touch with you then after that, and we'll see what else we need to do.
But I do as the laptop, as the couch and stuff falls under straddles the Mental Health Act. I do want the information on that to clarify that.
Yeah.
And also to clarify who was given access to my apartment.
Okay.
Because I've heard varying stories about things. There's things missing. There was medication stolen. All sorts.
Okay.
You know.
And yeah, so who had access afterwards?
Yeah, specifically in what was said to them, because, you know, as you can gather, I have a very strange relationship with family, specific to really due to one very abusive parent, and it's very much. I'm trying to think of a pop culture reference. It's very much like I don't even know how to describe it. One of those really weirdly, evilly manipulative people in a sitcom or something, you know, and then
Okay.
they're doing all the stuff behind the scenes or something. I'm trying to think of a movie where you might see that in, but there's probably something. So I have someone like that in my life, and
Okay.
you know, they're telling me that the guards gave all these orders, and the guards have told me repeatedly on record that they did no such thing, and I need to clarify that because, you know, on one hand, that you've got someone using the guards and basically slandering the guards to use them as a sort of a tool of coercive control, which is, as far as I'm aware, is a law at the moment, even if it doesn't cover parents directly until I take that case. But at the same time, that would be concerning because,
Yes.
you know, there would have been someone co-opting what the guards had done to abuse, and if they were giving misinformation, and the guards have, you know, at no point have the guards until your email when you said that I poured petrol on the couch, at no points up until now had the guards verified anything that parent had said. They literally denied it and said they didn't have the authority and they didn't do those things, and they don't know where I heard that.
Okay. Well, listen, I think that's probably enough to go on to see what I can get progressed
Okay.
over the next few days, and I'll come back to you after that. Send you an email, and we'll arrange to pick up the phone and progress things
All
again
right.
further.
And if you do want clarity on what happened at the Bridewell regarding the abuse case, I can give it to you.
Okay.
It
Well,
was
we'll see. We'll see how we go. Let's do these bits first, and like I said, build up the trust a little bit
okay.
by me doing what I said I'm going to do, that kind of stuff, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
All
and
right.
have a good evening. Thank you. Bye.
Have a good evening yourself too. Take
Bye.
care. God bless now.
Bye.
Bye bye.